So today we are at the Uge50 to celebrate Christmas. So we are going to find out how Danes celebrate Christmas in the old times. And we are here with that beautiful music. So what's your name?
My name is Kai.
And what are you doing here?
I am an old stable boy, 72 years old, so I'm too old to do anything real work. So I just play a little on my melodeon, Christmas melodies and dance tunes and so on. And I'm 72, and as we are now in 1864, you can figure out that I must be born in 1792 or so.
Okay.
That.
The Gamle By is an open-air museum depicting how a town in the northern part of Europe could have looked like the last 400 years.
And how many people do you usually receive in that museum?
Well, in a year we receive about 480,000 visitors. In Christmas, it is our most popular season. So in Christmas we receive most of our visitors. Within 5-6 weeks we receive over 100,000 visitors. In our museum we have 3 main periods where you can meet people living in the period. Our houses is from a very long range, for more than 400 years, but we have 3 periods which we focus on, and one period is 1864. So you can meet people living in 1864, which was a very important year for Denmark. We lost a war to Prussia, and the Danish kingdom became smaller, so to speak. Another period that we depict is the 1927. So we have this more modern period where you have electricity, you have telephone, you have cars, etc. So we talk about how things slowly are getting modern in Northern Europe. And the last period that we depict is 1974. And it's a period that many people remember. They lived there, or were young there, or adult there. So you can, in some ways, visit your own history in the last period that we have here in Gamle By. A very important part of how we tell stories is that you can meet people. So we have people, not in all the houses, but in many of the houses, you can meet people living in the period that the house and the interior of the house depict.
Today I am Mathilde Munk, and I am the mother of my daughter Ida, and she is living in this house, so I am a visitor, but well, of course I'm going to help her in the kitchen. My husband is dead and I have 3 girls left, and this is the one of them, and the other 2 are working other places. So I could go here and help, well, also to look after her small daughter. Yes, she's my only granddaughter, so of course I would like to be here with her too.
And of course we train these people so they can have this travel back in time, so they learn about the period, if the 1860s or the 1920s, for example, and then so they can talk with the visitors and talk about how their life is in the past, and maybe also so ask a bit into how the visitors can live in the present.
We read a lot.
We really a lot, and we do it because we are educated in each role, so we have a big piece of material, a lot of stuff to read, and we are taught how to do it and how to talk, how to speak to each other, how to speak to the audience, so we can do it as it was in that time. So it works as we were living here and acting as people would have done at that time. It's clothing, it's food, it is smells, what we can't bring and tell you, but
It's the
sounds.
light.
Yeah, light, yes.
Yeah. So here we are lucky because we have modern lights, but in 1864 they don't have that.
They only had candles and they had to be very careful not to use a lot. So many people are going together to be
Share one.
around and share one candle.
And you don't light up your candle until it's very dark. So when you're in the kitchen from 1864, that means that it's very dark for your eyes.
Christmas is a very big thing in Den Gamle By, so we have kind of prepared the whole museum for Christmas. We have decorated lots of room so you can see how Christmas have been celebrated different places, and the actors we have, they are also prepared for Christmas. So according to which period they live in, they will have different costumes, different way of celebrating Christmas. So they're prepared, and then all the other staff, because luckily we have a lot of visitors, so all the other staff are prepared that we're having visitors who want to eat things, who want to buy things, and just who want to see Den Gamle By.
There are a lot of things to do when we have a small family and there are coming visitors, and an old aunt is coming for Christmas too, and yes, so we have to make a lot of cookies and yes, prepare for Christmas, and that's a big part of work that I can help to do.
So there are a lot of people at job at Den Gamle By here at Christmas, and hopefully all of them will help that our visitors will have a very good experience.
Well, I have been working in Den Gamle By for 6 years, since 2010. I want to work in Den Gamle By mainly because I have the chance to work both with history and children and how to tell about the story and make history come alive and engaging children in that work. And that's the perfect job for me.
I have been working in the old town since May, so I'm fairly new at this museum. I've been working in quite a lot of other museums which do the same things, but just with another time period. So I'm educated as an archaeologist, but I always wanted to do something like this because I really love to educate children, but in history. And well, schools are fine, but I rather want them to have the feeling of history on their own skin, which is something a lot better than just reading a book.
A thing which we always is very carefully about is that we will have a lot of people here. So it's always a bit difficult to figure out where will they go, because visitors, they never go where we say they should go with the signs. So we have tried to build up, you can say, the museum, so it'll be easy to find the things they want to find and easy to orientate themselves. This year we have made all the years we made new adjustments. This year we make adjustments here at the main square where you can buy things to eat and so it's easier to people to get around, and we also have a big tent at our fairground where you can go in if it's cold, and where you also can buy some very good handcrafts. And we also have tried to make some more interesting exhibition, different places so people want to go. For example, in our postal museum, where we have an exhibition about the Free State Christiania, which is an area in Copenhagen. They have a very big Christmas fair there, so we have moved kind of their Christmas fair here to Den Gamle By in the weekend, so you can come there. And we also, in our 74 part, we have decorated for Christmas more places, so people will go down there and see about Christmas tradition there. So all the time we try to use more and more areas of Den Gamle By, so people will spend more and more of Den Gamle By, and for that reason not stay the same place, so it will be too cramped.
How has changed the concept of Christmas through different times?
We think Christmas is a very long tradition, and in some ways it is not a very long tradition. Some of the very iconic thing about Christmas, for example, the Christmas tree. It's not so. It's only about 200 years old or 150 years old. The idea of the Christmas tree. Some of the other traditions is very strong in the Nordic country. For example, singing Santa Lucia. It's less than 100 years old, this tradition, and that's exactly what we are telling here. We're telling about how this concept of Christmas have changed. In the beginning, there was not a lot of. You had some presents, but the presents were more like something special to eat and not presents like we know today. And one of the main things what we tell that is in our building behind me, where you can go kind of a cavalcade of Christmas from the around year 116 and then until 1840. So you can see the major changes in how people have celebrated Christmas. And then you can also go further and see how it was done in the 20th century up until 74. So there's been a lot of changes. Things we think is a very long tradition. It's not a very long tradition at all. And we're very proud that this is one of the best places you actually can get that story by visiting each house here in Den Gamle By and see how was the Christmas in the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, etc. The most interesting things you can learn here is to see how a tradition develops. So, and that will be by visiting some of the things. For example, see that the idea of the gift is not a very old idea, for example. And the idea of the Christmas tree is not a very old idea. So you can see how these things have changed. And then what we also try is that it's a place where you can have a good time. You don't have to learn history here. You'll automatically learn something about how things are. But you can also just come here, have a good time with your friends, go into our Julum High house where it's a playground for the kids, or go and taste some of the different cookies which for different centuries which have been popular. So in a way you can taste Christmas for different times.
The Christmas preparations here in Den Gamle By, they are very different from the modern way to prepare, because we are making everything from the bottom. Here we are churning our own butter. Here we are baking our own cookies.
But also the meat, it's not just the cookies and stuff. We also make leverpostej and medisterpølse and some of the old things that you just buy normally in a shop today. So that's what we do, and I think that's great for our visitors to see how it's actually done, because I don't think that many knows how to do it today.
What has been the most challenging about to prepare the museum for Christmas?
Here, before we open our Christmas at Den Gamle By, many people work here. Lots of staff, they work here because we have to decorate all the rooms so they fit into the period. So I have some colleagues who have done tremendous lot of research figuring out how could a Christmas look like in, let's say, the 1780s, for example. How did they decorate the room? Later on, how did they decorate the tree? So it's been a lot of research and a lot of big effort, and I have some very nerdy colleagues who are very specific on things should be like this. This is one part of it, a very important part of it, because this is what makes us so special, that you get the story behind Christmas. Another part of it, that we have to make sure that everybody is having a good time. So we have to make sure there's sausage enough, there's beer enough, there are candy enough, etc. This year, for example, for the first time, we made our own Christmas beer. A very special Christmas beer, because we have our old brewery. We have people brewing the old way, and they made a recipe for a Christmas beer. It was a huge success, but we made a mistake. We made too few beers, so I guess maybe next weekend we'll have sold all the beers, because they're just so popular. So next year we'll make more beers, so we make sure that we won't sell all the beer after a couple of days.
And what do you find that is the most challenging about to work in an alive museum?
Well, that you are prepared to meet the visitor you don't know, entering your door, saying hello, and you will never know what that specific person would ask for, and you have to be ready for whatever he or she wants. So that's the most, but also one of the most interesting things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, so if you come from, I think Birgitte and we have worked a lot during the years with opening fire and preparing meals in very different places. So I think for some of our colleagues, which have never done it before, that would also be a challenging part to work with a fireplace and cooking food without burning it and all the kind of things. And it's not the food that we usually do in our homes that we do here, obviously, because maybe at home we eat pizza and whatever, But that's obviously not what we're doing here, because we need to cook from 1864 or 1927 or 1974. So they did eat something else.
So are you happy with the result?
Yeah, here after we now have been here for the first weekend we had here. It's the first week we have Christmas, and I think it's going very well. A lot of happy people, a lot of happy kids, families. So it seems like they are enjoying it, and when the people are enjoying being here, and when they learn about Christmas, then I'm very happy.
And what do you find the most enjoyable about working here?
Oh, when things are going the way we like it, when we are showing people how to do one or two things, and they say, "Oh, that's why we call it this or that," and "Oh, that's how you made it."
Or this is just exactly like my grandmother's
Yes.
place. Or you have small kindergarten kids, and they are like, you can see the light in their eyes, because wow, there's actually fire in your stove. Or how do you actually have water, because we have a water pump in here, and it's not like the ones they're used to, obviously. So they really think it's fantastic, and then that's made my day.
Yes, and when they get interested in the story, our own history, so to say. And even better when we have old people with some brain disease or something.
Yeah, dementia.
Yes, when they are coming and looking at houses, interiors, looking just like when they were young, and suddenly they begin to speak again and remember, and telling us, "Oh, but why did you forget your hairpin around a glass with an oil lamp?" Yes. And some of the people working here said, but why should there be a hairpin? Oh, that's because otherwise the glass would broke. And that was really a good experience to get, because we had broken a lot of glasses on these oil lamps, and we haven't since that old lady told us that bit of a trick. And she hadn't speaked for years. But then we have made a good day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when there's some of these old people, they start to sing again because they know the songs. So
Yes.
from when they were young in the Second World War, then they stand up and sing a French song which nobody else knows, but because they could remember it.
Yes.
And then they can sit down and not speak again, but they could remember this. It's amazing.
Yes.
Why would you say that the Christmas tradition is so important for people?
Well, Christmas, it's in the dark period. And that's a very, when you think about Christmas in the Nordic country, it's always been this celebration of that the light is coming back. And in the dark, when it's very dark, as it is in Denmark and Sweden and Norway, then it's very good to have something to celebrate. And that's why Christmas always been very different feast, a very important feast for us, that you kind of meet together with your family or meet together with the staff you're working together with and make a celebration. And we can see that's a very, very old tradition. And in some ways, it's also a room off, where you can do things a bit different. There always been, in old times, there've been a lot of plays. And some of the plays were also a bit dirty, so the church not always liked that people were naughty at Christmas. Also because Christmas then was connected to Christianity, to the birth of Christ. So there's been in no matter which religion there were here, there always been this kind of very important festival where you celebrated. Now things are getting lighter again because it's unbearable dark in the Nordic country in the winter. So we have to enjoy. So we're enjoying here in November and December. We're enjoying to have Christmas. We're meeting with our friends. If we're old enough, we drink a lot of beer with our friends, and that's a part of this whole Christmas tradition, being together with people. Then later on, we got the gifts, but in the beginning, it was not important at all. It was important to have something good to eat and to have a celebration. And later on, we have the gift, and now, of course, it's a very important part to give gifts to the kids, etc. But the main thing is that you have to have something to look upon in a dark period, to have a celebration with good friends, and to know that things can be lighter in the end.
We have had a very cozy day today at the Uge50 and we have learned a lot about history of Danes in the past in Christmas. So thank you very much to everyone who has helped us and Happy Christmas! Glædelig jul!
Feliz Navidad.
Yeah, Feliz Navidad!
Tak for besøget. Farvel.